The mind control mechanism is in full effect once again, and apparently this dude Scott Adams is allegedly a racist. Now, Scott Adams came out and did the equivalent of a man with white face paint, a big old red circular nose, with all type of flowers, and maybe even a flower in his shirt that shoots out water. With a red wig with two big afro puffs on the both sides. Imagine if somebody like that walked up to you and said, "Hey, I'm a clown." Like, man, tell me something that I don't know. Look, Scott Adams just in general voiced the viewpoints of all white people. He said you can't help black people. Well, what help have white people given to black people? He said, well, you need to just get up and go and move and get away from black people. Hasn't this dude ever heard of white flight? That shit is literally like 150 years old. Like, what rock are you laying up under? If anything, this dude is probably a big time narcissist. Because narcissists say shit that everybody else is already doing, or things that people already feel. The reason as to why you call them a narcissist is because they're self-absorbed and live in their own world and are unaware that you ain't voicing nothing but common thoughts and beliefs, dude. There's nothing unique about anything you're saying, bruh. But anyways, Scott Adams. Now, he said that, hold on. Oh yeah, this is a mind control operation. That's the point I wanted to make. And I know a lot of people like to, quickly throw the conspiracy label around and say, oh, here the Hotepian type dudes go again. Talking about it's a conspiracy. But it is. And I'll tell you why. They always have to keep the narrative of racial divide going. Every 2 to 6 weeks, they always generate something, and they do it so commonly. It's kind of like most people mentally just don't keep up with it. I mean, about a month ago, it was Kyrie Irving. Then a little bit before that, it's Kanye West talking about Hitler. And then they will drag a police killing that goes on. Police killing. And then they'll get somebody in Hollywood to come out and say something racist. Or either, get a little black boy and put him in a dress and call him a queen. Or either engage in a long-scale program of socially degrading a black person like Lil Nas X, which is something that they can do. It covers months or maybe even years, where they can just dig up the little occasional race narrative for the media every now and then. But as long as we got a Negro male looking like an ass, that's white supremacist propaganda and job for today. You get what I'm saying? So this is the most recent, and what it does is that it continually sets up society so that you can always cast black people as demons and all of those, and just create this big giant political narrative around black people in which people are voting away, or voting because I'm not white and I'm not conscious and I'm not guilty and I didn't do any of that. It's this constant cloud of guilt and all of that is constructed and thrown upon the white population, and they're always voting against it and acting against it. And what the powers that be do is that they always generally tend to re-loop it and remix it every couple months or so to give them new worries and new fears about the black people. You get what I'm saying? I mean, you really don't even have to feed the narrative of slavery no more. You actually don't have to. There's not even any prominent black institutions that teach, are demanding that it be taught. The removing of black history hasn't resulted in a bunch of riots all throughout Florida. There's been a few protests, but, black people ain't sweating it because it doesn't matter if we're taught history or not. I mean, it matters, but when it comes down to white racism, it doesn't matter. Racism is going to be there regardless of whether black people know history or not. Racism is phenotypic. It's not history based. It's phenotypic. You don't know to discriminate against a black person until you see one. Just that plain and simple. But what they do, like I said, is constantly feed into the narrative, because the thing that he was responding to was actually a poll that was taken off of 8chan. And it's interesting to hear because there's literally a video where he's a very open, clear racist, a bigot, because, you know, that's what he really is. He's not a racist. He's a bigot. You know, bigoted means that you just got feelings and whatnot that are a certain particular way. You know what I mean? I don't think he has any power to fire or hire, or he's not a landlord or anything. So that would take him away from being a racist. He's just a bigot. He's a person that feels a certain way. But there's nothing about what he says that's surprising. And he's from Chicago. Chicago has always been, you would think that a person like him makes all the rules and policies of Chicago. There was a documentary that was done years ago about Bill Laimbeer and Isaiah Thomas. They both grew up in Chicago. Now, in case you don't know who they are, Isaiah Thomas is a three-time, I think, NBA champion. He played with Bill Laimbeer on the Detroit Pistons. Give me just a second. Let me pour something up real quick. Alrighty. But Isaiah Thomas played on the Detroit Pistons back in the 90s with Bill Laimbeer. And they're both from Chicago. And there was a documentary that was actually made in the early 2000s, if not the late 90s, that documented how the politics in Chicago resulted in the realities of Bill Laimbeer and Isaiah Thomas. Because Isaiah Thomas is from the South Side and grew up having to fight people. Bill Laimbeer grew up in damn near a white utopia in the North Side of Chicago. So it was documented in that documentary about those factors and how they eventually never even seen each other. Bill Laimbeer and Isaiah Thomas, despite the fact that they were very good in high school, never even seen each other in high school, played against each other, didn't even know each other. That's how divided Chicago is. So your boy, Scott Adams, he's not saying anything new. And I'm going to tell you something. This is a CIA operation to keep race at the front and center. And I'm going to tell you why. His cartoon is actually outdated. There was a person who reviews cartoons that was saying his cartoon is outdated. It is just office-based comedy of the 90s. And it lasted a little while into the early 2000s, but that brand of comedy is outdated. And honestly and truthfully, he's a good a space filler. And because he's done it for decades, they didn't want to come out and tell him, we're moving on. And then on top of that, don't nobody read the newspaper no more anyway. People get their news from Twitter and social media and Facebook and websites and whatnot. You don't see too many people standing up with a newspaper in their face. That's old. So they were about to get rid of him, or wanted a reason to get rid of him. And I'm thinking what they actually did was not fire him, but told him to go ahead and come out and speak his mind, and then agree with him that we're going to let you go. And we're going to give you your golden package. They are not. That dude has been doing that for decades. They ain't just cut him off unless he's already a millionaire. And then, then they'll go ahead and cut him off because they know he's straight anyways, But if he was reliant upon them and not that very much well off, they are not going to kick that dude out in the streets. As a matter of fact, he'll have a job at Fox News or over at Gab or Truth Social within a month or two. But anyways, don't have your mind controlled, man. Look into this stuff. And like I said, the narrative of race is constantly pushed and put in the front and the center, and they have to generate something every 2 to 6 weeks to refreshen the race narrative. And I think that he agreed with the companies that were about to let his cartoon go to just come out and speak his mind, and they would make it appear that they're firing him, but he's probably somebody who's been wanting to give Negroes a piece of his mind forever, so he came out and said what he said. But I think that's what's going on, but fuck him, fuck white supremacy. And fuck this narrative of always trying to push race, man. Anyways, it's your boy Shadow Band. I'm out.